Welcome to all you rock believers out there.
Well, exactly. And what a title for a new album.
Yeah, since we're doing this for quite a long time, we thought this might be a good title for the album. Since we are rock believers since, I don't want to say the ugly word, 50.
Well, look, we will chat a little bit more about your 5-decade career with the Scorpions in a moment. I mean, it's a phenomenal career, and you are the very essence of rock believers, I think. How does it feel to be in the Scorpions at the moment? You guys must be feeling pretty good about things.
Yeah, I mean, it feels really good, because in these challenging times of the worldwide pandemic, it was really like a blessing that we had the chance to work on new music, to create new songs. Pretty much for the last 12 months, we had our own little bubble, and we could leave the cruel reality outside and focus on new ideas and take a deep dive in our own creative worlds,
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that new album a little bit later on. We're also going to hear some of your song choices, Klaus, during this programme. Let's just crack on with the first one, maybe. And you've chosen the Kinks, and you really got me. This goes back to 1964, so we were talking about decades, but it doesn't matter when this track was made. It's an incredible one.
It's an incredible one, and all those British bands that came here to Germany in the early 60s, they were so inspiring, and in the end of the day, they kicked us in our emotions, when we went to see the Kinks here in Hanover, Germany, West Germany at the time. It was like to see Dave Davis with his Flying V, and when they played songs like You Really Got Me, we were blown away, We were young kids. They were just one generation ahead of us, but they were rocking, and the crowd went totally wild. It was just a great moment in time to be alive, to be a young kid, being inspired by music. And by the mid-60s, we were saying, come on, let's pick up the guitars, the drums, a voice, and put some mattresses on the walls, and then we cranked it up and we played for the first time. And maybe if we were lucky, we had a little gig at the weekend, and so we could play. And one of the first songs I played at the time with my band called the Mushrooms, it was way before the Scorpions, was like I saw us standing there and glad all over from the Dave Clark 5. We enjoyed this so much, and meeting Rudolf in the Scorpions like a couple of years later. And this is when Michael Schenker and myself, we came together and joined the Scorpions around 69, but the 60s were so important, and bands like the Kinks or the Who, they had a special place in our hearts.
Klaus, you were just explaining there about that incredible period of time, the mid to late 60s, rock just exploding here in the UK and across Europe, and you as a young musician just soaking all that in with Michael Schenker and Rudolph and those early days of putting your band together. What was it though, Klaus, that made you want to sing?
I think I figured out I want to sing, and I can sing, and I would love to sing when I was a kid, when I was 7 years old, and little family gatherings around Christmas or birthdays, it was always little Klaus who jumped up on a little chair. So like a small chair was my first stage ever. And it was like something like Ave Maria. And with my crystal clear voice, of course, the family was, wow, they were blown away. And, come on, Klaus, sing it again, just one more time, please. So I could figure out whenever I was doing this, singing, there was a reaction to it, and it felt really good, and so I knew from early on, this is what I wanted to do, but it had nothing to do with rock and roll or whatsoever, because this was like, it was around 58, 56, 58. 7, 8, 10 years old, and I just get in touch with the music of Little Richard or Elvis. I had a cousin, Vera, my cousin Vera. She was a couple of years older than me, and she had a record player, where you could put 10 singles on this thing, and you could listen to one single after the other. And so when I saw her, she always had the newest stuff her girlfriends or her friends brought in, and that's when I first listened to Little Richard, Bebop, Luna, the Bop, Bam, Boom, It was like, it opened up a whole different world. I didn't understand the word, of course, but somehow I understood the message of rock and roll. It was like an invitation into a different world, the world of rock music.
Now, while we're talking about early inspiration, I'm going to move on to another of your track choices here, Klaus. Tell us when you were first introduced to the Beatles.
I heard the Beatles for the first time on BBC Radio, and something like I Want to Hold Your Hand. They even made a German cover of it, a German version. I Want to Hold Your Hand, She Loves You, all those songs. So I heard it on the radio, and when I listened to Twist and Shout for the first time, it was not like in all those years before where you had one big star, one singer like Elvis, or in the UK, I guess it was Cliff Richard, So here it was like a group of people, like a band, and everybody could sing. Maybe not Ringo,
But he had to go.
But everybody in the Beatles, and when they sang together like songs like Twist and Shout, wow, my hair stood up, and it was like, wow, it was so inspiring. It sounded so rough. It was like a explosion of creativity. It was so colorful and so deeply inspiring that it was an inspiration that lasted a lifetime.
Now, in terms of bands that made you want to get into the world of rock, we've had a few already, but another one that you've chosen for us to play on the show is the mighty Led Zeppelin. Now, you've picked a track from Led Zeppelin 2. You've chosen What Is and What Should Never Be. I'm interested to know why you've chosen that track in particular. I mean, what do Led Zeppelin mean to you?
Well, Led Zeppelin means the world for us, for all of us, because listening to Zeppelin 1, 2, and whatever they released in those days, songs like Whole Lotta Love, but also What Is and What Should Never Be, was one of the songs when I had this little band before I joined the Scorpions. I played together with Michael Schenker in a band called Copernicus. And in the rehearsing room, this was one of the songs we played, and Michael also, he loved Led Zeppelin a lot. And I think this was it was like a formula laid out for the Scorpions, like there are other rock bands as well who work with the same kind of elements, like being hard rocking and then playing the most beautiful ballads in the world, and I think you can hear this in this Led Zeppelin song, and like in other tracks like Stairway to Heaven, of course. They had this formula because they had vocalists who could do this, I mean, it's good to have a screamer in the band, like when Led Zeppelin played rock and roll, and Robert Plant was screaming like crazy, but he would touch you deep inside your body, they would reaching out for your heart, and they would reaching out for your emotions. And this is what came through, not only in Jimmy Page's beautiful composition and guitar playing, the way he played one-of-a-kind guitar players, but the way Robert was singing was like, how can you not be inspired by listening to a voice like this?
I mean, Led Zeppelin, a hugely enduring rock band, but the Scorpions have also earned their place in rock history. 110 million albums sold, one of the best-selling singles in the entire world with Wind of Change, and you're here with a brand new album being released with Rock Believer. Tell us A little bit about putting this new album together, Klaus. You mentioned the pandemic at the beginning of this interview and how you used that time to write this album. But tell us a little bit about what it means to you guys, especially with this being your 50th anniversary year, the 50th anniversary of your debut album.
Yeah, it's amazing that when this album will be released this month, we will celebrate 50 years as a recording artist. But to be honest, we were not thinking too much about it, really. It was like the last 10 years, we were on the road playing all over the world. And around 2018, after the show we played in Athens, a good friend of ours came to us at a dinner after the show and said, "You guys, if you would make an album with the same energy, attitude, like Blackout, that would be fantastic." We were not thinking about making an album at all, We have so many songs and such a huge back catalog, so is there a need to make a new album? But if there is the question, should we make a new album, then you should be really highly motivated and should go for it. And I mean, of course, you cannot go back to Blackout and to an album that was so iconic looking back and became such a classic such a long time ago, so many years later. It's more than 40 years, it's impossible, I would say. But we picked up the challenge and we said at some point, okay, it was like a challenge. And I started writing lyrics in 2019. And it was very different this time because normally I would wait for the demos from Rudolf to come in and I would pick a couple songs and start to write the lyrics on the music. And this time I started writing stories more like a storyteller, and without hearing any music at all. And one of the songs, like Gas in the Tank, the opening track, it says like, "Come on, my friend, give me a killer riff, my friend. There's got to be some more gas in the tank." It was like a dialogue with Rudolf, who was at the time, who was in Thailand. And it was like sending him those words and hoping he would come up with some killer riffs, and make some great songs out of the material, and he did. And as it turned out, it was very inspiring for him. Also, like, to leave the comfort zone and work this totally different, turn our little world upside down and start with lyrics this time and put the music on the words, and it worked fantastic. When the first songs came back to me and I saw this was working, it was fantastic. And I had totally freedom to say what I wanted to say and to build up the verses, the choruses, and the middle eight. And so this worked very well, and it was so different. At the same time, for me, it was a lot of fun. So this was my personal freedom, to turn it the other way around.
Well, we're going to hear that brand new single from the Scorpions in just a minute. But first, here's another song that you've chosen for us to play. This is Aerosmith with Dream On. Now, it is only right that we play your new single, Klaus. And in terms of the title, Rock Believer, is that like maybe a message to your fans? Because there are people that have been with you through all these decades and my goodness me, do they still believe?
Yeah, I mean, it's all, and maybe that's because of the pandemic, it's all like a dialogue, with the fans. And especially we're blocked away from the world of touring for such a long time. It's like you want to stay in touch with your fan base. And through the social medias today, with the Facebooks, the Instagrams, and even TikTok, whatever comes along the way, you have a chance to be in touch with your fan base. And it's a pretty cool dialogue, you get some feedback to what you say. And maybe it's good, maybe sometimes maybe not so good. But I tell you a story, like in the middle of the pandemic and way before we recorded the first track of this album, I wrote a little song in my studio back home, just to put something out on the social medias. without saying, here is a new single from the Scorpions. It was just a little song. And the song was Sign of Hope. And it was like, also maybe 2 minutes something, not a big song. And I wanted to get in touch and just saying, stay strong, take good care of yourself. We see you all again, let's go through this pandemic together. And by the end of the year, we put out 3 fan videos, on our social medias and reached a lot of people. And it was such a nice interaction with the fans, And that same goes for the lyrics, like in Rock Believer. Yeah, you said it. We're the essence of rock believers, yes. But also, we heard so many years, rock is dead. There is grunge, there is hip hop, there's rap, Yes, those genres are very popular these days, no question about it, like especially hip hop and rap. But we see every time we go on the road, rock is not dead at all, It's well and alive. And Rock Believer is directed to this community saying, we love you and we hope you love this new album as much as we do. And I'm a rock believer, and just like you, and it's a clear message.
Klaus, it's been absolutely wonderful to talk to you. We could talk to you for probably the next couple of hours, but I think the best thing to do is to say good luck with the new album. Not that the Scorpions will need it. You'll be out on tour in Europe later on this year. You've also got your residency in Las Vegas, but we wish you all the best and we hope you come back to Planet Rock very soon.
Thank you, Liz. And for the fans in the UK, I know we haven't been there for quite a while. And we work on it, and we really hope to see you out there in the UK as well.